Whoa, it's Wulzy. Welcome back to another building project. I've realized that a lot of my all-time favorite Geometry Dash levels are made by a massive group of people. I was watching Audiovisual's stream the other day and he was playing one of his old levels called True Love. He used this level to emulate a lot of other people's styles. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be an overdefo / comet face style part, and I think he said this one's Zyron. Oh my god, he gave them fake names? It's a great idea, and every video I pick up just seems to be more intense than the next. So this is ambitious, but I'm gonna start making my own. I'm also going to give the level to a bunch of people in this video and see if I can fool anyone. Subscribe. Okay, let's start off this level in a ship with spawn group number 1 that we're going to put on an object just a little bit up in the air so that we can start off the ground. You guys told me in the comments last week that I can put down an option trigger and then hide the ground. So now if I play, this should be an open ship. It is. Awesome. Can I still land on the ground? I can. I'm not going to make any ship gameplay. I'm simply just going to mark the border of the part with this wave portal right here. We're going to start this level off with black background, and the ground color doesn't even matter, but it's just muscle memory. I'm going to place down 4 objects in a square. Let's place a gradient. If we look inside the special settings and check vertex mode, we can have bottom left, bottom right, top left, top right. So let's just mark these stars 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the same pattern, like so, just with groups. We can go 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to set this to invert. I'm going to put it on one of these. I think B2 for the layer. So if I place a square and put it on B4, anything below this, the square is going to invert. So now there's a square here that isn't even an object. But if I place a square object behind it, just scaled up to, I think, 2 times to fill that gap, and I put this on white, B4 underneath that, it's now going to be hidden. If I place this saw blade here on B3, you can see the way that works. If I make it red, for example, it's now going to be blue inside this space. This is cool. I like this idea. We're going to use it with a background to create some simple blocks. We're going to make a couple of versions of this with different sizes of blocks, just so I can just build helper this gradient. Make sure that it gets set to a new ID every time. That's how you make them not clash with each other. So if I take this off the ID, you'll see that it just breaks. I'm going to make a couple of different sizes of objects that are going to have hidden outlines just by setting it here. I'm also going to make a 4th variant, which is going to be the smaller square. This whole thing is going to have group number 18, and then I'm going to place another object inside of it, which is going to have group number 19, and this is just going to have a little scaling effect. So I don't want all of these to scale because I don't want it to be completely unreadable, but I think having a sign in out of like 4 times, so as we get closer to it, this gradient should increase the size. Yeah, but that's way too big. Let's go with a 2.5, some size that we haven't done yet, but is also climactic enough to make the scaling effect worth it. Yeah, it's still noticeable. There's just one more way I'm going to vary this. I'm going to give the 2x2 a group, which on the same line as its gradient is going to just have a very subtle movement down and to the right, like this. So there's a slight movement. I might do another one. I like this. It's just smooth. We could do a super slow movement for this one and a sign in out. Let's go. Nice. This is going to be a very group intensive way to start. I mean, what's my next free here? 89 already, and I'm not even like halfway to the wave portal, but it's going to be worth it when we can invert a background and just get free block design from it, from a cool masking effect. So this is basically what I'm going for in this intro. It's just the mask side of it. I'm also going to copy another one, build helper that, and just start working on making it fit the edge of this beginning block. Just making sure I put the underlays in. Then we have to do it for the ground as well. So let's build helper again. I'm going to put this on editor layer number 3 or something, just so it's separate. Just throwing it all the way to the wave here. We just have one for the ceiling as well. Okay, now the level is marked up. Look at all these triggers, dude. That's insane. Oh, dude, I missed the move trigger on these. Are you kidding me? Now I have to copy paste, move it close enough, delete that, build helper it, and then move it into place. I'm not sure what kind of background I think is going to look good with this, but I'm going to start with a pillar here. Oh my gosh, you can see it inverting already. Okay, so desaturating it actually is an interesting strategy because look how much darker it gets on the other side. We can do a bunch of different colors. Let's start with this one. Okay, we're gonna loop these colors just so we have some bright and some dark. This blue is a bit more ambitious because it's on the other side of the color wheel from where I've been going. I'm now reading a comment that's teaching me about spawn ordered. So you make all of the color triggers spawn and multi-triggered. You give them a group 167, say. Put the spawn trigger down and check this button. Okay. Then you make this spawned and multi-triggered. And you place another spawn trigger that activates this one. Okay, we give that a group 168, for example. Like this. Does this work? I don't think it will. It doesn't. Okay. I think what I have to do is place another spawn that activates the original one. And this has to be on the same group as everything else, like this. Okay, so if this works, it should just... Oh my god, it actually works! Oh my god! Thank you so much, Laboto's Craft 40. Shout out to you. You just saved me a lot of groups here. I was gonna try and make a rotating pattern, but it just looks really awkward. When the background's dark, it just goes white in the invert side. Oh, a giant glow object I was gonna say is gonna look really ugly, but it actually looks kind of sick. I could go with a simple style like this, but I just don't think it's hitting. Let me just tease you with a clip from later on in this video. This is so neat! Yes! Just wanted to jump in and say if you enjoy these long building videos, please leave a like and subscribe to support. Much love. Back to the video now. I've actually been having the most fun just by building the big ideas in level first and coming back and decorating them. I'm now setting up a colorful ground that's going to appear. We're going to use this color of green and we're going to set it to a color loop. Just looping a few color changes that shift it through different shades of green, like maybe a bit more towards blue. I just want to match it with the... For this idea of a self mega collab to be successful, I have to use a lot of different ideas that I'm not that familiar with in order to make it a bit more convincing. You know what I mean? Let's take a look at how these settings affect this. Okay, so the intensity makes it more opaque at the top. I don't like that, so it's going to crank it all the way down. The fade kind of does nothing. I like it being smoother, so I'm going to leave that on the top. We have to start this radial blur before these are going to move on. They're going to be locked to the x-axis on 175, but then they're going to have unique groups 176 and 177 that move them up onto the screen. I'm trying to get the right blurring and moving combo for the transition. I'm going to put them like a block higher than they're supposed to be, so moving 60 instead of 50. This looks fine. Wait, I can reduce objects here by stretching these out like this. Now I'm going to make structures using that color channel that we set out and the same layers so that it radial blurs. We're also going to have a block in between. When I go up on the structure, I am going to leave a little gap between each layer like this and just delete that side. Make it a big platform and then just flip it to finish it just like this. Okay, that looks surprisingly good. Yes, and we can change this. Oh, but the gaps aren't going to be the same. Hold on. We can just manually split these, I guess, just like this. I think during this part, I'm going to create a loop of these radial blurs that changes their size back and forth from -3 and 0.5 to -2 and 0. It's working, but it's just too subtle. Make it a little bit noticeable just by changing this to something like a -5 and a 1. Or 2, I guess. I typed 2. This is so much cooler. And I think what's going to set this part apart is that I want to lock these objects to the x-axis ever so slightly on like a 0.1. So it's moving slightly away from the player. I've created something weird here. So they're moving slightly away. But on a sign in out movement, I've moved them just 30 blocks to the left over 12 seconds. When they eventually move, it's extremely trippy, dude. I love that. I'm not just testing a transition into a cube here. This yellow pad alongside the bottom side of the ground here is going to have another group 181, which is going to sharply move down like 100 out of the way. I'm trying out a bunch of move times. I think 0.5 will be fine here. This portal is group 182. This portal is group 183. I'm setting up area fades. This one's for group 182. As you can see, it's centered on the player. As we get there, the object is fading to full opacity on 30 length. I basically just copied this trigger and doubled the length for the UFO portal. And then just by adding a group to the blocks, which is 180, I've just faded them in as the part starts. So these blocks don't move in with the grounds, they just kind of fade in on their own, and I think it looks cool. And then you can see the transition out with the appearing portals as we get to the end of the wave. I think it's really neat. I like how the ground moves away with the pads too. It's going to be super clean. We're starting a new part now. Let's put some spikes onto a slope. We can just move them apart, snap them, and put them into place. I'm going to make an outline for this object, which is just going to be made of slopes that are scaled down to 0.5 like this, and we're just going to put them on color channel number 5. Now, because I want this to look like a collab, I cannot reuse this color loop. Let's give these triggers a group 185, and we can just stop that right before the UFO. Then we're going to place a star object right on the edge of that slope, and we're going to make a design really quickly that we can copy paste, just putting a line from the center of that star, maybe moving it a tiny little bit into the block, giving this the center group 186. This line is going to be 187. Put these on the same color, hiding the star object just so it's out of the way. I'm going to make these rotate. It's going to be 187 around 186. Sign in out. Let's set the degrees to like 120. The time can be like 4 seconds, so it takes a really long time. But at the same time, we are going to offset this trigger about 60 to the right with 0 move time. We can just link these triggers together. Let's see if this works. Oh, I have rotated the wrong way. This has to be -60, not +60. Just so it goes from the right to the left as we pass it, yeah. So let me just select these things and link them. We can just copy paste and put them on every little step of the slope using build helper like this. Now we should see a rotating line pattern. Then I just keep using this slope but I can just copy paste and build helper. There's like a double line in the middle. That's actually super cool. If I copy paste this and put it upside down, is it still going to work? Or will the lines rotate the wrong way? That looks kind of cool, but it's wrong. Set these to plus 60 on the offset and then move them minus 120. Yeah, I'm gonna steeply arrange these structures and then just put a giant spider orb like this so that we go down to the very bottom of the level and escape it like this. Yeah. Then we could probably copy paste, put the object here and then unlink real quick and just take off the spikes just like this. I'm gonna do a section where you have to spam up against this block just to make the gameplay a little bit more interesting here. And then you fall into that portal. That's nice. Oh wait, this layering sucks. You see how my waves getting buried in the ground? We gotta fix that in a second. I really like these little rotating lines. They use a lot of groups to get working, but I think it's sick. And this gameplay is actually somewhat decent. Yo, original Wulzy gameplay? Without forgetting these objects that we moved up into the sky, let's set them all to B1. And instead of just being T3, the shader can be B1 to T3. Oh, now the player gets blurred. So not the player. So I can't go through B1 to T3. I'm gonna have to go like B1 and B2. Okay, so I'm just testing how different things look here. You can see the strength distorts it more. We can go to like 25 here. And this is gonna make it pretty hard to read. However, if I can fade it off quick enough with like a 0.1, just down to 0, maybe combining it with a few camera effects. I think the camera stuff is going to be pretty important to convince the whole MEGACOLLAB thing. I'm going to try and do a camera rotation into this, and that was pretty smooth. I'd rather that easing be a sine in out, just because it would feel more controlled. But that's nice. Oh, but the chromatic glitch doesn't go away? Really? Oh, okay. Yeah, got it. Nice. So we just set the RGB off to 0. We're going to sync this twice. The second camera rotation is going to be the opposite way. I can probably put the chromatic glitch to a negative 25. Is that going to work? So it goes the other way? Yes, I like that. And then for this loop as well, we're going to have a very concise 0.25 zoom. Another sine in out, which is going to go 1.1. And then for the second one, it's going to go 0.9. All right, so now I'm going to do the spawn ordered thing that everyone told me. Okay, so this is syncing pretty well. I'm just trying to order it. Yeah, this is much better. Oh my gosh, this is really hard to read. Wait, it's actually kind of cool though. I gotta take the portals off it, but other than that, now I feel like we have to have a layer on top. Selecting all of the slopes, we're gonna go to editor layer number 5 or something and put these on T1. So even when these lines dance, you can see the original spikes there. Oh, yes, this is better. Dude, this looks awesome. Wait, this part's still broken? What? Why are the portals still freaking out? What? The wave trail is what layer then? I have terrible news. The wave trail is B1. So I set the shader to B2 and nothing happened. Okay, so now I'm setting the blocks to all be B2. This looks like it's fine. Okay, this section is working again, and the wave trail is overlapping the ground, which is nice. Okay, I'm never using B1 for shaders ever again because all the portals are fixed now too. Let's select a bunch of these objects, give them a group, and move them off as we go into the ball. We just do elastic in, minus 400, just to get a smooth transition in. For the transition here, I'm resetting the camera's rotation and zoom, and stopping the previous loop at a point where the shader keeps going for a little bit. It's gonna do a little section where we swap over in a spider pad to the other side, where we dodge a spike block in the middle. I like that. Trying to set up a big ball corridor that we can just spam like that. Okay. Oh, our shader is still turned on. Let me just turn that off real quick. We're gonna put this onto B1. I'm just gonna copy paste that across the entire section. Then we're just gonna cut out the blocks in pillars like this, also taking these objects and just warping up to fill the rest of the space, just with bigger objects to stop us from wasting objects. Oh, this is going to overlap our objects. Okay, well, we're going to put this onto B3 instead. For objects like these, we're just going to have to copy the values of this grid and then get ourselves some mini objects. Bing, boom. I keep using glow as an example, but basically what I'm saying is if I have a big piece of glow underneath the level, you can only see it inside the blocks. It's time to make a particle. This is going to lock onto the screen with group 467. Go B5. We want a lot of particles, and we want it on a radius effect. So it's going to have some sort of effect where it's going out. We're just going to make something that has 0 angle, but a complete variation. So it's going on in all directions from the middle to the very edge. We want it to be super huge in the middle and go down to 0 at the end. We're going to make this a glow object, I think. Let's set it to a new color channel number 6, which is going to copy number 2 with blending. I know I said I didn't want to reuse color loops, but this is actually the one from the beginning, but we should get away with it. And now this is just going to sit in the background. We can warp it up a little bit bigger. And then what we do is we copy paste and we just squish it and stretch it out. Put it on the layer above this overlay and then just set it to hue 180 on the base and detail. This is locking to the x-axis, and we're going to play and we'll see that there's going to be a multi-layer effect where the blocks get colored and then there's a huge effect in the middle of the screen. This looks super sick and hazy. It fits the song so well. I love it. I'm going to swap the hues though, because I think the color that's on the foreground would look better in the background and vice versa. So I just have to switch the hues around from what I put them as. Then I'm going to just mask the spikes into this background by copying the values and setting up things like slopes to go around these spots. By half space, scale down to 0.5. We can delete this object and move this one in. Then I just make this spike invisible and boom, we have an outline. This will be accurate enough, I think, if I just scale this down a half. Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing. I mean, come on. Okay, there we go. I've filled in the ball. Okay, now I can start making pillars like this. Okay, and once I set this to just fade on, this part should be conceptually done. Okay, so transitioning out of the UFO section, we have a super colorful mask that reaches beyond the ground. Like, this is full screen because I hit the ground at the beginning of the level. I love how obscured the spikes are. This is just so sick to me. This is one of my favorite parts in the level so far, conceptually. And then we can just pick one of these objects. I'm gonna give it group 468, lock it to the x-axis here. It's also gonna move up like 50 in 1 second, something like this. We're gonna put a hidden purple pad with no effects. So we're just led into a duel. It's gonna be mostly symmetric and very simple because I don't make these often. People seem to make dual balls a lot, so I'm gonna go for it. Little black orb onto this block, which is slightly raised. This is the center of the screen, and it's just one block above. So what I'm hoping I can do is put a spider orb here. I just feel like that's gonna be way too difficult. I don't know. Let's actually give it a huge buffer just so you can tell what's happening. Okay, let's check the transition into the duel. Okay, the blocks are very visible, obviously, but these are just layout blocks. Let's just see how easy this duel is to read. I want this to be like a 6-star level. I think it's actually somewhat fine gameplay-wise. This works so well. What the heck? We're gonna use a new color channel here. Let's just use 7. It's gonna be a light red with blending. We need a really punchy color for these blocks. Now we're gonna take one of these circle glow objects, paste the state in the color, half space into the center, and just stretch it to fit the edge. What we have to do with this object is just gradually decrease its saturation and increase its brightness with a couple of rings that go down like this. So it just gets brighter and brighter to make this a cool decoration piece. I was thinking on top of the object, but below it might be more of a vibe. I'm using the second line as a guideline of how much to scale it. I'm gonna make a simple color loop that goes through orange, yellow, and also pink with a slightly longer fade time just to end that section of the loop. Okay, if we just increase the fade times here, this is gonna look nice. So the duration lines overlap each other. Let's set all of these objects to B2. Okay, they were already there. We're going to change the shader layer to B2 and start using a bulge. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to start making a loop where it starts all the way to the left on 0.5 bulge, and then it increases the bulge very slightly by 0.05 and moves more to the right by 0.2 of an increment. And then when we get to 0, we can go over to the other side and start decreasing the bulge. Okay, I have spawn looped these very nicely. It's something. I think we can do something with this decoration. I really like it. It's going to do something with the motion blur that's going back and forth between 2 and -2 here, so there's a bit of a blur here that's gonna loop. Oh my goodness, what have I got myself into, dude? Okay, we're getting somewhere here. I think we just need a radial blur to smoothen it out. It should be pretty simple. If I just put this on 20 and crank the intensity really far. Aha! We get the blocks that are actually going into the background somehow. I don't know how that's working, but it looks cool. I can probably just make a quick loop that's gonna make it go like 25 in 1 second. Maybe go -25 really quickly on like a 0.2. Looping these should make the blocks go in all kinds of directions and make this super interesting to look at. I quite like it personally. I'm gonna place some jump indicators using particles. Hopefully this isn't too blinding. Okay, we can do a lot of variation on the size just to make them kind of overlap and look cool together. So we just keep that on this color, and then we make a version that's on B1 as well. I just feel like this is gonna be the most important thing for the sight readability of the levels, so I don't really want to make it confusing any more than it is. For extra visibility, I have bumped the pads up on the block by 1. Okay, this should be every block with a jump indicator now, and these actually look pretty good, and they're very obvious to see, which is great. I saw some particles there, so I'm going to select literally every object in the section and just slam it on no particle. One thing I can think of doing for this is putting ground spikes in a slightly different hue. The green is awful. Get that off now. So is the blue, though. Wait, the blue is actually kind of fire. I actually kind of like that. I'm going to give that a group and literally just scale it up on the bottom layer with a couple of different copies that are going to have different groups like this. Simple as that. Flip maybe that one, which are going to lock to the x-axis starting with 479 with a slight x mod. I'm going to say like 0.8. The other two layers are going to have slightly modified X mods, 0.82, 0.84. I'm going to lock them a bit early, and then I'm going to transition them onto the screen, like -100, ease in out 1 second each. So they kind of come on layer by layer here. Okay, they don't go far enough. Let's make it 220, and we can give it a back out on its way in. Just trying to help these slide onto the screen. That is so nutty. Oh my gosh. Except I'm going to create an alpha trigger loop for those 3 layers, which are going to fade on with literally like 0.04 and fade off. And these are just going to be looped like this. There we go. So we're changing spikes on the front layer like this. This is my attempt at making a foreground in a level, and it actually looks kind of gross. I don't like the fade time. Just increase that. Should help with the opacity of it anyway. Yeah, because I didn't want it full opacity. This looks cool. Then I'm just going to build glow pillars that are going to extend all the way down just from some of the blocks. One thing this part is missing is the self-collab aspect of the video. So we're going to start using some dark glow over the top. I don't normally do this because I like to have bright, flashy colors, but I want to make this part more moody. Let's place a guide block right here just so I can see the screen. I want to put speed lines in this part because I don't think I've ever made them before. What we do is we make a set like this, and then we stretch them to fit the screen, except I don't know how to do that when they are sideways. Hold on. Like this. Yeah. Let's first give this a group 487. This is going to lock to the x-axis on T3. We're going to make this color channel 7 with minimal hue change. I do like the color here. I'm very scared that it's going to wipe out the blocks that are there. So in that case, I might make this a little bit bigger. Okay, I'm going to rotate this a little bit off, and this is going to be group 488. And we're just going to rotate little by little over this way, going 489, then 490, just adding new groups to these objects until it's just about to go off kilter. Because remember, we stretched this to be like an oval. And if we rotated it too far, it would not fit the screen anymore. We're going to put a center point right in the middle, which is going to have the moving group 487, and it's going to have a unique group 493. Okay, let's make the alpha trigger effect first with very short fade time, like 0.05, going to 0 opacity. The next layer up is literally going to be 3 steps behind it. So are they all? And then we'll copy paste. We will rotate this ever so slightly just to increase the gap between them. Look at the effect lines. You should see the difference. And they're going to fade back on with a very short fade time too. So here we have this loop going on right now. Then we're just going to set up rotations for each layer, starting off with 488. The center is 493. We can start by rotating this layer 3 times around in a circle in 12 seconds. Then the next layer up can go 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we just add this to the moving group, which is 486. It's a little bit off center, but it's working super well. I do feel like that rotation should be faster. I'm changing these rotations so it starts off with 5 and then goes to 10. So there's a bigger difference between each layer. So there's 15. There's definitely more to do in this part, but I'm going to move on because I feel like I've done a lot for this section of the video. Wait, the spikes at the bottom move that slowly? Am I stupid? This was 0.8 before. This was 0.82. So I've kind of done 1 minus whatever that was and then got the answer here. I basically just got my ideas the wrong way around. Now the spikes are moving the correct speed. Fading off is so easy. And the way that shader works out is perfect. Literally just a single alpha trigger. Probably going to make a cube part that's going to have a lot of circle deco. I don't know about big saw blades, but something like flowy with a lot of portals and orbs and stuff. We're going to have a custom camera here too that just makes it a bit more stable instead of going up and down so much. You can put a spider orb into a corridor that has no roof. So we just instantly start the yes. We can just toggle that off with the next free 500, which I'm going to put into this toggle trigger. And that's going to end this level gameplay wise, but we got to set up the camera for sure. Let's start the camera right here. It's going to be group 501, and we're going to end the camera, I think, over here. Or maybe just in the center of this. 502. We should lock 501 to the x-axis so it stays with the player. Obviously, that's a must. We're going to sign in out this on the Y only to target 502 just by clicking this target mode. Then as this part starts, we start a camera static for 501, which is going to be 2 seconds long, I think. Sign in out. Oh, we can do Y only for this object. That's cool. So we don't even have to lock it to the x-axis. We do have to click follow though. Okay, that puts the camera way too low. Interesting. Okay, we just need to make it move less. This is pretty good. I haven't made any parts yet with a foreground or background, and I feel like some creators really do that a lot. Okay, let's see what we can do. Like copy paste and rotate this right. Wait. I'm dumb, dude. I'm really dumb. We could just use this. I'm going to put this particle above the blocks, and we're going to give it group 503, which is just going to copy 501's movement upwards. Then let's give it a unique group 504, which is going to lock to the x-axis with a 0.9x mod. Let's make it pink on color channel number 4 as well. We can just edit this to use the object color. Oh my gosh, even if I put it super dark. Oh wow, this thing looks sick. Dude, look at this. We can pulse this. So I'm going to try and make a foreground here. This is really slow moving, so we got to move it much further to the left. We should be moving these so much faster though. Let me grab this group and just put 0.1 instead. Let's copy paste this, go up by 2, give it group 505 instead, and increase the hue hue by like 10 on the base and the detail. Ooh, that's gonna look so cool. 505 is going to move slower. It's gonna have 0.2 instead. So now you're gonna see the dynamic here, how it's just gonna create a really neat fuzzy foreground. And we just keep doing the same thing. We move it up a layer, we make it slightly bigger, and then we change the color by plus 10 on the hue. Ooh, that's very red. We're probably gonna change the color here, but we just keep copy pasting the lock to the X and increasing the mod. So these bigger layers move less. This works so well just by using the aspect ratio lock on the warp, so I can just drag this one and they don't stretch out, they just get bigger around the central point. Then I'm gonna copy paste, move this to a layer that's behind the blocks, so we can just keep going, but the next layers aren't gonna be on top of the blocks here. Scrolling through the editor is so satisfying. The coolest thing is I can just take these triggers, rotate them like this, and if I turn on the effect lines, you can see what that's doing. It's making them go one at a time. I'm gonna use this to create a loop where they first move up, and then they move down double, and then up that same distance. If you think of it through end positions, this first loop is gonna put it right here, and then afterwards, they're gonna go up here with this second set of triggers, and the third set are gonna move them all the way down to the bottom like this, and then these two loop, so it kind of goes like this, where it's like, oh, we're moving up, and then boom, 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 boom. So let's play. Oh my gosh, this is so satisfying. It's so wavy. I really like it. And it's going to move gradually up with the camera too. So it's kind of going to lock to the screen here. Super cool effect. I dig it. Now we have to do a color loop for that color channel number 4, which is going to take it away from pink. A similar color. We're not going to touch it at all on the inside of the wheel. We're just going to rotate it around. We could do 2 sets of color loops here, starting off with group 504. We could do a 0.05 and a 0.5 that goes to black and just increase the group like this over and over. Then we can make a colorful one, which is just going to make it copy color channel number 4 with extra brightness. The beauty of the spawn order settings is I can just add these to spawn triggered, multi-triggered, the same group that's getting activated here with spawn ordered. There we go. That's going to bring out the best in the colors. I love this effect so much. This level is conceptually done, so now it's time to just bring it all together. This is going to be the center point on this moving group 169 that we set up earlier. It's going to have group 521 as its identifier. I'm going to rotate particles in a spiral around the center here. It's going to have unique group 522. It's going to have the moving group 169. I think the X shape is going to look pretty cool here if we just crank them super large with very minimal rotation. I want to make them go out to in now. I think it's going to look better that way. We could do something like this for the first object, making it use the object color, which is going to be number 2 here. Okay, so anything with blending cannot be used with this effect, because if you put anything additive, it's just not going to show up in the invert for some reason. I don't know why. It's kind of a shame, but set up the rotation. 522 around 521. We can go 5 times in 15 seconds. Let's just keep going down and giving it a new group. I'm going to be scaling each layer up by an extra 0.05 just to make them bigger as they go down very slightly, and it's going to fill up the edges of the screen more. We're going to do the rotations as well, going up to 9 for 526. We're using a ton of groups in this, but I think it's going to be worth it. Then when I'm done, I'm going to select them all and just flip upside down like this. One entire rotation is going to be a little bit too much here. Let me restart. For each layer up, we're going to go an extra 90 degrees. So we can do 90 and we can do 180. Then we can go 270. Then the next one after that will be a 6. Cool. Okay, here we go. It's not nearly big enough. What I could do is copy, paste, rotate, make it a little bit bigger. Wait, that might look insane, actually. Put it on the layer behind and make it brighter? I know this is a weird choice, but would make the colors on the invert more satisfying. Because remember, if we go to just black, the blocks go white. You see what I mean? We're almost there. I can feel it, dude. Make the base dark and the detail bright. It's fine. We just have to change the texture. I know what I'm doing. Oh, God. Wait, it's kind of getting there. Hold on. I like this. I like this a lot. Hold on. This is the one. Then it's going to fade on angelically. This is so neat! Yes! This is sick, dude. I'm testing a transition to scale down the background, just to make it a bit more creative on the exit, yeah. Oh, we could also do a transition in, where these objects are scaled up like 3 times on the X and the Y in 0 seconds. And then as we go into the level, they can ease down over 4 seconds or so. Division, same group here. It's gonna make it look blurrier at the beginning, but then the objects are gonna focus more. That's so cool! And then they're gonna scale out for the end of the part. This is hype, dude. Okay, to make deco, I'm gonna have to place arrows like this. I'm going to give them a group, and I'm also going to give them the opposite hue of the color 2. So it should match the color inside the blocks. I've been trying not to use area scale triggers as much, but I definitely will for this decoration. I'm going to make this group 541 like a flipping decoration group, I think. It's going to happen before and after the point that we get there. But yeah, now we've got just some arrows that rotate inwards like this and keep the colors of the blocks. We're going to have a huge connecting piece, but on a new color channel that's going to copy number 5 with less brightness on it and blending, just like this, yeah. Then we're going to start adding details to each square that's inside. So for example, this object is going to have different group but same color. The scale was whack. There we go. We're going to have a glowy layer as well, which is going to have a new group 544. We're going to link this together and copy paste it over the foreground of this section, which is going to lock to the x-axis but with like 30% x mode instead of 100%. I'm testing a transition where they move from the right onto the screen as we go through the wave portal, just using a sine in out movement. Okay, they're way too bright, but that's simple. We can just turn down the brightness on this color channel. We can also copy paste and make another longer layer of these, which are going to be on a lower opacity. Yeah, just so you can barely see them. Take that off 545. Copy the transition in, but make it work later for this layer. And this can lock with more X mod. I just want them to have an interesting overlapping dynamic where one of them's moving faster and then slows down to match. Yeah, this works. I had to make a super long sign in out. That took ages to test. Anyway, with the 3 groups that we made, starting with 542, we're going to just make an alpha trigger loop. It's just going to fade them on and off in a loop like this. Maybe with an even shorter fade time than what we planned. Like a 0.16, we can just turn them back on right after. Looping that should show different layers at a time, and I actually quite like this. Then I'm just going to select literally everything, give them a group 553, and I want that to have an area move on a decent length of 80. These objects are just going to go up like 20. As the player goes past, it's going to move. Now they're moving a little bit to the right. I like that a lot. Okay, let's take the values of these outlines and place down a particle. Aha, here's what I want. Place an arrow here. Nice. And we're just going to make a bundle of these just by half spacing around. Could probably just copy these slopes and paste a saw blade with these exact same colors and groups. Just going to put this next to some blocks like so. Maybe customizing their rotation a little bit. I've decided. This guy's going to be called Jim for no reason. This should have the radial blur and the movements and everything, so it should be funny. Jim. Oh, it's not that noticeable. What if I can just layer this differently? So there could be a black layer on B1 that's above the... Oh, that looks sick! I'm adding a layer of saw blades that has the same effect given to it. I'm gonna put a small diamond on the visible layer. Then on the layer behind, I'm gonna have a bigger diamond, which is going to have the effect. So as I scroll past, you can see there's a pretty cool curve forms right here. I'm also going to create a cool little curvy object here that goes away from the screen like this. I think that curve looks awesome there. Just trying to add a little bit more structuring here. This looks super sick. I really like it, dude. We can use the area fade group on this portal 183 to create some bright glow that's the same color as the object on blending and gets distorted as well. Let's make a super tall arrow here. I'm just going to go through and put these onto the exact points where I clicked in the UFO. Remember, this is supposed to be an easy-ish level. I know jump indicators are kind of cringe, but I'm scared of these distortions getting in the way of the sight readability. I probably should have hue changed these. Gosh dang it. Let's go plus 50. Okay, this is cool. Yes, this is much better. It's actually coming together. I'm going to set a gradient trigger up in the background using the next free 2 colors, which are going to be 11 and 12. I'm going to group this 555, and there's going to be a rotation loop, which is going to rotate 0 seconds, and it's going to go 90, or maybe 45 degrees. That would be cool if we can just loop that over and over again. Making a pulse for color number 5, which is just going to copy itself with a bit more hue. And at the same time, I am going to pulse 11 at first with like a 0.2 fade out, something similar, and then I'm going to go 12 right after. So let's just take a look at this pulse. That looks super cool. 1, 2, 3. I like it. Going to turn down the fade time ever so slightly just to make it a bit less colorful in the background. And this is going to make this part kind of flash left and right and different directions in the gradient. Okay, so the rotation on the gradient isn't working. I was planning to do something like that, but I'm just going to delete it. I was hoping that the level would do something like this, but it's not. Going to make some circular ground spikes just by placing a couple objects here, warping up this line to match each side. Going to put some glow underneath as well. We're just going to use color channel 10 for this glow so it matches the object line. And because this is all on B2, it's all going to be shaded. Wait, these spikes actually might be able to go on color channel number 5. That's kind of crazy. We can just put 561 as a group pulse here. 0.1, 0.4. Instead of going to black, maybe you can just copy 5 with a lot of brightness decrease. And if we loop that, then it's going to go darker and it's not going to mess with the lines on the blocks, which is cool. These actually don't look too bad. They fill up the space pretty well. I need a name. Is Wiggle too obvious? I feel like it sticks out so badly though. The date's the 5th of August. We could just call this guy like Wiggle 58 or something stupid like this. Trying a minus 30-degree camera rotation for this ball section, and as we go through this corridor, it's going to go over to a plus 10 right here. I'm not sure if that's cool or not, but it's going to stabilize before the duel. Okay, maybe 30 was a bit strong. I'm also going to zoom in for this transition 3 times, make it super long and kind of cut it off before it really gets going, and then we can just snap out at the end. Please work well. I actually beg. It's not bad. Boom. Okay, that makes the transition infinitely better. Above this effect, I want to put some black decoration. It's just gonna be difficult because I cannot see at all. But what I want to do is put it on an area fade so it appears as we get there. But if I copy this, the object that I place should be going in between the two layers of the background. Then I can copy the values of the top layer and put a star object here so the deco is kind of layered up. When I'm playing, we have a star that's sitting on top and the lines are going behind. Wait, that looks so cool going behind though. It looks so cool just being all together. And we could just put a couple of decorations on the side with a little bit of a decrease in scale. Hopefully that's going to make the design a bit more interesting here. I like this. And we could place another star here on black and have a colored layer on top. Something like this, yeah. And these objects are area fading. I'm just going to make little stars that follow the path of the player. And that should be this part done. Okay, these stars are barely visible at all. It's fine, dude. I dig it. It looks cool. I'm asking ChatGPT to generate a new Geometry Dash creator. Nebula. Okay. Oh, that's actually perfect! We're gonna make this out of shiny objects just to make it really hit home. That looks actually amazing! We could just take the letters in dual and just make it you, lad. This just looks like Vlad. God damn it. It's literally just this transition and this part left to decorate now. Let's set up some black pillar objects that are just gonna be our bases here. Is this even gonna be sight readable? Okay, very barely. Holy crap, you can barely see the blocks at all. I think I might have put too many of these onto the foreground. Okay, solution. We put a particle B5. We're just gonna choose another layer, like 12, where I can actually see what I'm doing. Radius, we're gonna make it bigger. That just looks like a pulsing square though. Ugh, that's actually not terrible. Hold on, give me that color number 7. We can use the object color on the particle. And all we do is we just set up an area rotate with a random degree number. Not 180, I want to go 360. I'm also going to put bounce out just to make it feel a little bit abrasive. 120 on the length. Stops as we get there. Player 1. Or maybe we want it to rotate as we get there. Dude, I just want you to see how satisfying copy pasting this in a row is. Look. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, the bounce is not cool at all. And rather than a random rotation, I am feeling just like 1,000 degrees. We can go ease and out, or we could put literally 300 on this thing. I need something smoother to match the way that the foreground feels. Yeah, this is nice. I dig this a lot, dude. We can quite literally just put these underneath the blocks huge. That actually looks super good. What? And I wonder if we can just turn this off of additive real quick and just set it to black on the base and detail. And then do something here as a saw blade. This has potential. This part is really unsight readable. Hold on. I think the saw blades need to light up as we go past them, which is going to tint it to match color channel number 7. I'm trying to increase the length and the offset to a point where we can play it and the objects are changing color before we get there, but it just looks so muddy with all of the other colors involved. Now I have to take all of these, put them on T3, then copy paste, go to a next free editor layer, and then put it on black blending, which is color channel number 4. Put that on T4 so it's a layer above. Why is that colored now? Oops. As it turns out, I'm literally just forgetting, and these particles that I made for the background literally use this color channel. It's just a really dark pink. The reason it appears so bright inside this color channel, even though it's so dark, is because of the sheer number of particles. I mean, look at this object. I'm just gonna stop the area tint, dude. Okay, this is actually better than what I was about to do, so this is great news. Fantastic. This part looks decent now. It's gonna be pretty difficult to do, but I've been seeing a lot of people using slopes as little decoration. Okay, that's filled up the foreground pretty well. This is a lot more convincing now. It feels more artsy with those really long lines just sticking up. It matches the sparkles so well. What can we do for a name in the last part? What about like Wag Slump? Something like that? I don't know. Oh my gosh, we're actually gonna write this in glow. This is so dumb. This is actually so diabolically bad, dude. Jeez. Oh, I need a level name. Ah! Wizzy Business. Okay, I've split each letter and we've given it group 568. If I put an object over here, give it group 569. We literally just set up a movement for that object to move it 20 blocks to the right from the left over 2 seconds. If I set up this area scale with 0 on scale X, 1 on scale Y with decent length and set to this setting, making 569 the center that everything is focused on, we should be able to have a cool effect on the text where it opens up. I'm gonna give these group 570. I just set it all the way over here just to lock to the camera like this, like that. So what I'm hoping is, if I place the area scale way earlier too, I've just went past it right there, we should have an end screen where the text is going to appear in front of our face. Let's just see how this works. Bada bing, bada boom. It's not centered, but it's pretty good. I want to know what it looks like in normal mode. Is it climactic? Yes. And it just stays there. Nice! Oh my god! Okay, Wulzy business is actually completely done now. This is crazy. This is the biggest video project I will probably ever put in this channel as a single video. That was crazy, dude. It took me probably upwards of 12 hours to build this entire thing. I know that a lot of parts aren't super developed decoration-wise, but I just did what was necessary to push the styles and make these seem like they were built by different creators. And I think I did a pretty good job. At least the color schemes are all different. They have pretty different vibes between them. Like this one's a lot more flashy and there's a lot of effects that are distorting the blocks, whereas some of the other parts just have a lot more mellow vibes, and I think that works. Thank you, Yagru, for the really flashy and vibey song here. It works super well. I like the space theme that I've kind of been able to build at some times with it, like this nebula section. That's really funny, and I just think I was able to work super well with it, so I'm just really happy with how this turned out, because the energy is just so different in each part. I tried to use much less area scale and area movement effects as compared to what I normally do, and I think I did pretty well. I just saw a little bug in that transition, but I'll fix it after this little section right here. This is really cool. I'm really happy with how this level turned out. I think I'm gonna send it to my members right now and see if they believe if it's a mega collab or not. I'm having a really difficult time convincing people that Jim is real. Everyone's talking about Wax Slop and Wiggle. Nonetheless, I had a lot of fun. Okay. Thank you for watching. Check the links in the description, leave a like and subscribe, and have a good day.